is this toilet paper here? Shh. Why is this toilet paper up here? Okay. Oh, that was not a rhetorical question. I mean, anyway, thank all of you for coming. Thank Alex Padilla for that beautiful picture of a beautiful young man. And it's a pleasure for me to introduce our guest speaker. Had the privilege of being in the state Senate with him. I don't know how many people remember when the Republicans tried to impeach President Clinton? None of you, a lot of you, or what? Okay. Well, the impeachment was led by a congressman from California and from the Pasadena area, and the state senator from that area decided to take him on, defeated Congressman Rogan, went on to do great things in the Congress, and now he's our leading fighter on the Senate Intelligence Committee to come to all the truth and the facts of what Trump, the Republicans, and everybody else were trying to steal our election. So I give you my dear friend, Congressman Adam Schiff.
Thank you, Democrats. Thank you, California Democrats. I love you too. And we all love John Burton. My fellow elected officials, ladies and gentlemen, California delegates, and our wonderful party chairman, John Burton, thank you for the honor of addressing this convention. Thank you in particular to John Burton for the brilliant leadership you brought to the Congress, to the legislature, and to our party, for teaching us what public service is all about, for never losing sight of those less fortunate, for being not the conscience of our party, because conscience is a word of cool detachment, but the beating heart of our progressive state. Today, ladies and gentlemen, is day 120 of the Trump administration. Yes, like you, I have been running out of adjectives and expletives. But thanks to John Burton, I know that it's not the number of expletives that you know that matters, but how you deploy them. That even a single choice word, if intoned correctly, can be a noun, a verb, an adjective. John can turn it into an appetizer, an entree, dessert, or a full 6-course meal. So it is good to be with you, John. And it is good to be home in California, where the Golden State pulses with a golden fire, and with all of you, the very soul of the resistance. I was not born a Californian. My family moved west when I was a child. Like so many others, we were drawn to the promise of this great nation state like a moth to the flame. We were entranced by its coastline, its mountains and forests, educated by its superb public schools, enriched, yes, enriched by the brilliance of its diversity, and raised to believe that in this land of plenty, anything was possible, anything. Where else but in America, and where better than in California? No, I was not born in California. Neither was I born to the resistance. Those of us who are the sons and daughters of the greatest generation are the beneficiaries of their proud sacrifice. They gave us more than a victory over fascism and tyranny. They gave us the foundation of a prosperity that would last for more than a half a century, and if we're smart, one which we can rebuild for the next generation. They gave us, too, the legacy of a can-do spirit, an unconquerable will, the idea that America can accomplish anything because of its people, yes, but also because of a system of government fashioned by a few brilliant revolutionaries. A system of checks and balances, a government of the people so awesome in its design that it could constrain even the worst impulses of human nature. In short, that great generation gave us a foundation so strong, a democracy so vibrant and alive, that some of us grew to believe it almost self-effectuating and requiring little vigilance on our part. That was our mistake, not theirs. Over the last 120 days, we have come to see just how fragile our democracy really is, just how much the proper functioning of its checks and balances depends not on the operation of law alone, but upon the observation of certain norms of behavior, a certain respect for the co-equal branches of government, a certain understanding, and more than that, a certain decency. Yes, decency. Over the last 120 days, we have come to see what an acute threat to our democracy can come from a president who lacks that simple but essential quality and who is instead profoundly indecent. And so I find myself in a role that I am not accustomed to which I did not aspire, but which is now required of all of us who are unwilling to stand idly by and watch the undoing of all we cherish, and that is the role of resistance. When the president says only days after he was elected that millions of undocumented immigrants deprived him of the popular vote, this most flagrant and divisive of falsehoods, what are we called upon to do? Resist. When the president takes aim at our Muslim brothers and sisters, when he would treat them as second-class citizens, question their patriotism, ban them from travel, blaspheme their religion, cast suspicion upon them, blind to the fact that they are an essential part of the beautiful fabric of America, what must we do? Resist. When the president brings hatred and bigotry, Breitbart and Bannon, Gorka and greed into the Oval Office, when he would make acceptable that which is despicable, what must we do? When the president would build walls to divide us, what must we do? When the president sends Spicer, Kellyanne, and Huckabee Sanders to mislead us, calls the free press an enemy of the people, describes what is true as fake and what is fake as true, what must we do? When the president disparages a so-called judge because he neither understands nor cares about the independence of the judiciary, when we must remind him that these so-called judges are nominated by a so-called president and confirmed by the so-called Senate, and that he should read the so-called Constitution. What must we do? When the president takes action to allow industry to once again belch filth into the air, oil and gas into the sea, when he would make cars less efficient, when he would betray American global leadership in the fight against climatic destruction of our planet, what must we do? when the president and congressional Republicans would throw 24 million Americans off of their health care, when he would deprive a parent of the power to take care of their child, what must we do? Yes, we resist. Not to obstruct, not for political advantage or idle purpose of delay. We resist for love of country, for adherence to our Constitution, out of fidelity to all we hold dear. That is why we march, that is why we write and call, that is why we attend town halls by the tens of thousands, that is why we resist. And still, we are more than the sum of our opposition. We are not the party of no, we can't, but yes, we can. And though we are, of necessity, cast in the role of defending against the tyranny that he would make of the majority in Congress, Democrats have never been defined by what we are against. It is what we are for that has always brought us together, given us meaning, given the nation hope for a better future. We are for freedom, the freedom from want, for that child who goes to school hungry because her parents work full time but still cannot afford 3 meals a day. The freedom from fear for the parent of a black or brown teen coming home from school, walking down the street, or driving a car, and the wife of a cop who hasn't come home when he was supposed to be home. The freedom to exercise our faith, to worship the God we choose without discrimination or disfavor. The freedom to choose whom we love, to have and to hold them until death do we part. The freedom to be who we are, even to discover who we are, and to be accepted for who we are. We are for liberty. We are for liberty, the liberty to live as we choose as long as we do not hurt others, to pursue happiness wherever we may find it, and fulfillment to walk as we will, talk as we will, and yes, within reason, even smoke what we will. Well, at least you can. And we are for responsibility, the responsibility to look out for ourselves and for our neighbors, to serve the public interest, to serve in the armed forces, to serve our nation, and to serve the greater good. We are for opportunity, the opportunity to get a good education, to go to college unconstrained by a lifetime of debt, to get a job, to get ahead, to have a fair shot at promotion based on your merit, not your color, your gender, or someone else's idea of who you should be. And yes, America, we are for health care, not as a privilege, but as a right. Not for some or even many, but for all, truly universal. Because without health care, all the freedom, the rights, and opportunities are painfully beyond our reach or exercise. This is what we stand for. But can we win? All that we care for, all that we stand for and fight for, matters little if we cannot win. At the end of the day, if we are to put real constraints on the worst abuses of this administration and Congress, if we are to preserve and protect the gains of the past and build America a better and more prosperous future, we must win. We must win in the cities and towns where the next generation of leaders will be born. We must win in the state capitals where the lines will be drawn in the sand and the districts will be drawn on the maps. We must win in the Congress, where the fate of the environment, the health of our neighbors, and the possibility of war may be decided. And we must win the presidency if we are to move the country forward and not backward. We must win, but how? How do we win in a country so divided? How do we win in a system so awash in dark money? How do we compete with a propaganda machine so powerful that it can portray the President of the United States with his cabinet of millionaires and billionaires as the champion of little people? How do we win? I won't pretend to know all of the answers or even many of them, but I believe we can win if we can answer one simple question. When you look at America from the air, with its red states and its blue, the geography seems like destiny. The middle of the country is a sea of almost uninterrupted red, the coasts of vivid blue. Have we become two nations living together in the same landlocked household, still in love with each other, but with differences so irreconcilable that we can never again be made whole? I don't believe that for a minute. On the ground, in our homes, it is so apparent there is no red or blue. Wherever you are, the American people are the same, all fundamentally good and decent. We all want the best for our families. We love our neighbors. We love our country. It isn't geography that divided us at the ballot box. It was opportunity. Communities that were growing, where there were jobs and people arriving in the hopes of a better life, went for Hillary Clinton. Communities that were not, where the jobs were leaving and the people left behind, went for Donald Trump. This was true in the red states and the blue. Can we compete in those communities where jobs have departed, along with dreams? I believe we can. No, I know we can. But to do so, we must answer the question of that parent in coal country and the young man in the inner city, the mother in the steel mill and the father of four whose job was shipped overseas and whose pension was lost after spending his whole life working for the same company. And that question is this: in a world that is changing so fast, that is small and yet global, and where machines can do the work of our fathers and mothers, what can you offer that will give me the hope that my life will be better, that my children's lives will be better, that we will have a fighting chance? That's it. It's that simple and that terrible. The American people work hard. They're the best workers in the world. They're not looking for a handout. They're still looking for hope. I believe that Bernie Sanders was right. We have to revolutionize our thinking before we can answer that question. Let the other party make false promises that they will never keep. The people asking that question all over America will never grow tired of winning with this president or this Congress. And Howard Dean was also right. We must answer that question in all 50 states. We must go to Appalachia, to Wyoming and the Mississippi Delta. Let them have a look at us. Let them hear our ideas. Let them kick our tires and give us a chance behind the wheel. And Hillary Clinton was right. We must answer that question together. We must draw upon all the considerable talent in our country, and we cannot afford division when the fate of the Republic is at stake. Our people are stronger united. Our party is stronger together. Democrats, we must bind up our party's wounds, for only then can we save our country. And it is not alone our country that needs us right now. In these extraordinary times, it can be said with little exaggeration that the fate of the free world depends upon us, even we here in our golden nation state. Last summer, our democracy was attacked by a foreign adversarial power, Russia. What began as a foreign intelligence gathering operation directed at hacking our democratic institutions became much more. In the midst of the presidential campaign, the Russians began dumping documents stolen from the Democratic National Committee, from the chairman of Hillary Clinton's campaign, and from other democratic institutions in an effort to undermine one candidate and help another who would then become the President of the United States. The Russians did so for many reasons, out of a dislike for one candidate who was a champion of democracy and human rights, and a strong preference for the other, a man they had every reason to believe would undermine NATO, weaken Europe, remove sanctions on Russia for its invasion of Ukraine, and ignore the murderous brutality of the Assad regime. In Congress, we are investigating every aspect of the Russian active measures campaign. We want to know whether the Russians had help, whether any U.S. persons coordinated or colluded in any way that would make them complicit in the most serious betrayal of our democracy in our history. And I am determined to do everything in my power to follow the facts wherever they lead. And no matter what this White House does or what the right-wing media throws at me. And I thank you for having my back. This is not about relitigating the election, as the president claims. It is not fake news or a witch hunt. Jim Comey was many things, but he was not a nut job. If there is something fake, false, and fraudulent going on in Washington, it is not coming from those who would pursue the truth, but those that would deny the seriousness of an attack on our very democracy. If there was collusion, we must reveal it. If there was compromise, we must expose it. If there is obstruction, we must stop it. Because our intelligence agencies have warned us, the Russians will do it again. Indeed, they are doing it already in democracies like Germany and France. We must understand there's no way to build a cyber defense strong enough to withstand a determined and capable adversary. If the Russians want to get into the DNC again, they will get in, or the RNC. There is no software package or patch, no technological fix. The only defense, the only way to prepare ourselves for the next cyber attack that we know will come is by finding out exactly what the Russians did and how they did it, and by inoculating ourselves against it with a well-informed public. We must commit that no matter which side they attack or who would derive gain, all Americans, Democrats and Republicans, left, right, and center, will condemn any foreign interference in our democratic affairs. What made the Russian interference in our democracy so successful is that one party and its candidate not only accepted but condoned the Russian hacking of the Democratic Party because it gave them an advantage. Hillary Clinton's emails hacked them, Donald Trump said, and you will be richly rewarded. And so they were, and so they continue to be. We are engaged in a new war of ideas. It's not communism versus capitalism, but authoritarianism and an autocracy versus democracy and representative government. Right now, the autocrats led by Vladimir Putin are on the march, and he has spawned many imitators, with Erdogan in Turkey and al-Sisi in Egypt, in Hungary and in Poland, in the Philippines, and with Marine Le Pen in France. Our president has embraced the autocrats, and our Secretary of State has made it clear that human rights will no longer be high on the agenda. So much is riding on us here in California to pick up the mantle of leadership, just as our president has set it down. How sad and how poignant the headline when Chancellor Angela Merkel came to visit the president, which declared, "Leader of the free world meets Donald Trump." The divisiveness of this presidency is a terrible tragedy for the country. But the loss of American leadership as a champion of democracy and human rights would represent a catastrophic loss for freedom-loving people all over the world. It is the very idea of America that is at stake. America is not perfect. No nation of human beings ever could be. But the idea of America has always outshone our imperfections and has been a beacon to people all around the world. The young people in Tahrir Square who gathered in hopes of a better, more representative government and are now in jail, they look to America. The families in the Philippines whose loved ones were lost in a campaign of extrajudicial killing, they look to America. Journalists in Turkey and Mexico risking their lives to root out corruption, they look to America. Men in Chechnya whose lives are at peril because of whom they love, they look to America. And when they look to America, increasingly they look here, to us in California. Our light burns brighter than ever, illuminating a state made golden not by its wealth, but by the brilliance of our people, our passion for justice. No, not passion, our rage for justice. Our fierce determination to fight for America. The light is California. The flame lives here in our party, the Democratic Party, the heart of the resistance, among a people proudly out of control. And as one of the greatest Democrats of all time once said, the glow from that fire can truly light the world. Thank you, California. Thank you. Thank you, California.
Thank you very much. I speak for myself and Marta Scudia, the only two in this room who served with Adam. What do you think, Marta? Holy shit, can you believe it? Adam, that's what makes us so goddamn proud to be Democrats. And one thing that I do want to say, and I used to say it at House meetings, in that people go to a House meeting and they walk out and they think they did something. when we leave this convention, we still have stuff to do. We have to start doing it in local elections, supervisors, city councils, school boards, and everything. And then we will do what we do best. We are exporters. We will export to other states the know-how and the knowledge and the can-do spirit that this party has shown over the years, and we will turn the whole goddamn red into blue, or at least purple. Thank you very much.